Get ready, we're going deep this morning. What happens when we die? A Louisville neurosurgeon has been able to answer part of that question through his research. He's been featured in the New York Times in a documentary, and he's speaking tonight at the Kentucky Science Center. Dr. Ajmal Zemmar, we welcome you.
Hi there.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to just dive right into this. What happens to us when we die?
Well, our research showed that 30 seconds after the heart stops beating, your brain elicits waves called gamma waves that are responsible for recalling memories. So what we think is happening is that you have a movie of your life playing at the time of death.
So you were able, just to sum it up here, in your research prove that theory of like life flashing before your eyes happens like in our brain. You were able to prove that.
That's right. We had a case of one, and that was repeated in 2 other cases from a different group, but that is what this small number shows, and it's very hard to get more cases, so we're bound to the small number, but that is what it shows, yes.
And you kind of came upon this really by accident. You were trying to study something else when explain kind of how you got this data.
Right. We actually didn't try to study anything. We had a patient who had a brain bleed, and we operated the patient, and the patient was supposed to go home 5 days after the surgery. The patient, on the day when the patient was supposed to be discharged, he had seizures. Those seizures, normally what we do is we put an EEG on the brain. We put the EEG on the brain, and he was conversational with me. About 20 minutes later, completely unexpected, he had a heart attack and died. So that led us with a recording from somebody who was conversational to acutely dying.
Wow.
So now that you've done some of this, some people know about it. We talked a while ago about a documentary that you did.
Right.
Do you find that people are super interested and want to know more, or do you find people sometimes will say, you know what, I don't want to know any more about this. Whatever happens, happens. I don't want to think about it until it happens.
So the largest interest we received was from society. People do want to know what happens when we die. Death is, if I asked you, what do you think is going to happen when you die? Everybody's scared about it. We don't really have an imagination. People think about like a dark black box that comes when we die. So nobody really has a visual concept of what death is like. So if this research can change that and, you know, maybe paint this dark black box into a movie that plays in your head with the memorable events when you go, that kind of makes death less scary and gives people also who stay and have to say goodbye to loved ones perhaps more comfort.
Have you heard, since you started doing this research, what has been the response from people who've had near-death experiences or who maybe were revived and say that they have either seen light, or we've all read those stories.
Right.
Have people contacted you with those stories?
A lot.
Okay.
And to date, there's about 14,000 reported cases of near-death survivors who came back. Mm-hmm. These people don't tell you 14,000 different things. Pretty remarkable. They kind of tell you
The same.
consistently the same.
Wow.
And one of those hallmarks is a recall of life. So that has been out there, and you know, I'm sure you've heard about these descriptions. Our work was the first to show a neurophysiological mechanism in the brain that could explain those experiences.
Where the activity is happening
Right.
on the brain lets you know what kind of experience it is.
That's right.
Huh.
That's right.
I know that you have talked about doing this research kind of has changed how you live your life. And that's one of the messages you're going to be talking about tonight during your lecture.
Yes. So the most profound wave, so to say, from society was, you know, what does it mean for me today? Like, okay, fine, when I die one day, the movie's gonna play. What can I do today? And so during discussions, and this was really not something that was planned, it was kind of something that evolved over many public talks, discussions with people, podium discussions. What this evolved into is, if you know that one day you're gonna die, your movie's gonna play in your head, you flip the narrative and you say, what can I do today to be the director of that movie when you have big decisions to make in life, when you want to change something in life, when you're unhappy with something? you jump into that angle, looking at yourself from the perspective of death, looking at today and saying, how would I want myself to look at when I go?
Yeah.
And you make that change today. Maybe you want to live more in the present. Maybe you want to live more holistic. Maybe you want to realize that there isn't really all that much time left for us until we go to make memories. Those are all the things we're going to talk about tonight.
It's getting deep
Yeah, I
around
told
here.
you.
I
We're
know.
gonna go deep this
good.
morning.
Can I ask you before we go to the bright light? Do people see
Yeah.
a bright light as well? You see that in like all of the movies, like Bruce Almighty, for instance.
Right. These 14,000 people who I haven't been there, but the people who have reported it, they consistently say that they feel like they see light at the end of a tunnel.
Oh, so fascinating. You
It
can
is.
ask questions, by the way, and hear more from Dr. Zemmar. He's speaking tonight at the Kentucky Science Center. The program is called Echoes of Life, Lessons from the Dying Brain. Starts at 6:30. Tickets are still available. Thanks so much for
Thank you.
coming.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you very
Yeah,
much.
that was really interesting.
Thank you.